Front row with all of my friends. Bright lights, I remember it like it was yesterday. The front row of Mr. Janakis' biology class. Before the bell, right as the bell rang, we came in, we're sitting down, there's no teacher, we sit down, sophomore year of high school, and the bell rings, still no teacher. We're waiting, and then suddenly, AC/DC comes down, blaring in the classroom. We're all taken aback. And Mr. Janakis kicks out the door of his office, jumps into the classroom, and starts running around just how I was doing just now. And much like you were doing just now, we were all thinking, wow, is this guy crazy? And of course, he played the whole song. That was just 1 minute of that song. He played the whole song, and he's walking on desks, stepping over, playing an awesome air guitar. And by the end of the song, we're of course saying what you were all saying now, like, yes, definitely crazy. So, did the song have anything to do with music? Yes, it had something to do with music. Did it have anything to do with biology? No. It had nothing to do with this biology class. But did it have something to do with learning something about the teacher? Did it have something to do with priming our brains, getting us engaged in a way that we had not seen at all that school year? That whole day we spent our time going to classes. This teacher would diligently hand out the syllabus and say, check page 3, article 7 of your syllabus to see what will happen to you if you are late. So of course, we're bored all day. And then he comes in and he plays this loud music. He is engaging our brains to get us ready for learning. So why are we here today? We are here today because we want our students to grow as people as they engage in the curriculum that we bring to them. So I know that many of us, and definitely myself, we end up focusing on the exploration of the subject part, while hoping that the growing as people part just sort of falls into place as we are teaching our lessons. But we should not separate them. If we are only teaching the lessons, and I know it's hard because there are a lot of expectations put on teachers that we have to have evidence-based results. We have to make sure that our students are achieving at a certain level instead of experiencing at their own level. And so as a result of this, myself, one problem that I have as a teacher, and something that I'm working on improving, is that when I'm only exploring the world through my subject, and not allowing my students to grow as individuals, I'm only giving them half of what they deserve as students. So it's important that we be proactive. And in the keynote, we were hearing about being proactive versus reactive. My goal for myself is to not be reactive in my teaching students to be growing as people, but to be proactive in including that in my curriculum. So when it's reactive, it might look something like someone hits someone else and you say, oh, let's keep our hands to ourselves. You're reacting to a situation. Oh, make sure you raise your hand before you ask your question, or no matter how good the glue tastes, please do not eat it. So are students missing out on the opportunity to grow personally if we're focusing on curriculum only? So like I said, if you're only focusing on curriculum, as I sometimes do, I catch myself doing, we're only providing them half the services that they deserve. Personal growth is not secondary to exploring our subjects. Personal growth is intertwined on equal footing. I know most of you are doing this already to varying degrees. And my challenge to myself and to you is don't be reactionary. Be proactive in giving your students the opportunity to grow as people. Yes, it will make them better mathematicians. Yes, it will make them better scientists. Yes, it will make them better poets, musicians. So what does it look like to grow as a person? If we're talking about focusing on achieving things, John Adams wrote in a letter to his wife Abigail, I must study politics and war, that our sons may study mathematics and philosophy, in order to give their children a right to study painting, music, architecture, statuary, tapestry, and porcelain. Music is recognized as a discipline to bring honor to a lineage. This book also talks about how growing as a person is additive, of course. You are combining all of the subjects to grow as a person. You're not only learning math to become a mathematician. As I mentioned just a second ago, if you do study math, it will make you a better athlete because you can apply the knowledge that you learned from each subject across the curriculum. So, scientists have used created magnetic fields to study how the brain works and where blood is being moved throughout the brain. And so a couple of different machines. I'm going to show you some pictures of these machines because I just find them fascinating. And they're using these machines to use magnetic waves to, like I say, measure blood flow in the brain. So here is a woman getting a MEG scan. Here, a couple ladies decided to take a weekend off and get a brain scan together. But in all seriousness, this is an MEG machine, and I want you to imagine now that you are doing a study. The scientist says, I want you to focus on the screen. Oh wait, let me lower this thing on your head. And then you try to focus on the screen. Nevertheless, regardless of how distracting the size of this machine over your head might be, these are the pictures that they're coming up with. So as you can see, the test subject was asked to do different tasks or think about different tasks, and they would measure where the blood was going to help out that part of the brain with the thinking. So as most of you are doing right now, you're using the visual part of your brain, and so your brain might look a little bit like the top row there. So what scientists have found is that all people have access to these different parts of the brain to varying degrees. Some people are able to access them a little bit easier than others. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. Howard Gardner believes, as do I, that each of us, just as we have access to these different parts of our brain, we also have access to these multiple intelligences to varying degrees. Let me give you an example. This is Chad Thomas. He's a senior in Miami, a senior in high school in Miami. As you can see there, he has been offered 150 scholarships for college next year. He's decided to attend University of Miami. And due to his prowess on the football field, his football team has won 2 state champions in a row. So he obviously works a lot as an athlete. And what I find interesting as a music teacher about Chad is that many of these 150 scholarships are not athletic scholarships. They're music scholarships. And Chad is a wonderful example of having a strong intelligence not preempting you from strong intelligence in another area. He's a great athlete. That doesn't mean he can't be a great musician too. Music isn't just for Chad Thomas though, and we're going to try something, and this is sort of why I wanted you to sit in the first 2 rows. I'm going to try this. This is the smallest group I've ever tried this with, so I'm sure you'll be fine. We're going to talk about our expectations about ourselves and about music. So, watch me, eyes on me. Some of you may have seen this before. Ba, ba. Would you join me? Ba, ba. Okay? Now. Ba, 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 ba. Very nice. Very nice. Let's keep going. Ba, ba, ba. Ba, ba, ba. Thank you. If you can walk, you can dance. If you can talk, you can sing. Some of you may have seen that already. I'm just going to leave this. This is great. I'm out of breath now. Me too. Some of you may have seen that when Bobby McFerrin demonstrated that at the World Science Festival, in which they were talking about neuroscience. I left a link on my website that I invite you to go check out both an excerpt which shows his wonderful work there, much more talented, much higher multiple intelligence level in musical rhythmical than I have, watching him demonstrate that to a much larger group, of course, and it's magic to watch. So how were all of you able to do that? You were all accessing your multiple intelligence of musical rhythmical ability. And so where did you get that scale? At some point in your life, you already learned that song at some point. Even if you've never taken a music class, music is everywhere. When you're in Lulu, you hear music. When you are in the car, sometimes some of us hear music. You already knew that scale because in some form you had heard it before. Maybe in not this exact form, but in some form you have heard this music before. And when you heard this music before, it was processed in your brain and then put away in some dark corner in the back of your brain. And then there's a security guard standing outside, maybe like our Filipino friends who are out here guarding the entrance to this place. And when that security guard saw me jumping around on stage up here making a fool of myself, he said, "Oh, wait, hang on. Guys, check this out. This is going to be good." And your memory came back and and you were able to access that to be able to participate together in this musical experience. To get a better idea of exactly what's happening in your body during that exercise, let's look at how the body actually receives sound.
Many of us take for granted a very extraordinary organ, our ears. To understand the ear, we need to understand what sound is. The speakers you are listening to right now are vibrating, flexing in and out, causing a wave of pressure through the air. The frequency of these waves, or the speed at which the sound-creating surface moves back and forth, affects the pitch of the sound. The level of air pressure in each wave is directly related to how loud the sound is. The outer part of our ear catches these waves. It faces forward and has a specially designed structure of curves helping us to determine direction of sound and emphasize frequencies needed for human speech. Now that the sound waves are caught, they travel through the ear canal and strike against our eardrum, a thin membrane about 10 millimeters wide. Now that we receive the sound, the middle ear transfers this energy. The smallest bones in your body, the malleus, incus, and stapes, start in motion. The malleus is attached to the eardrum, and as the sound passes along, the force is amplified by leverage until it arrives at the stapes, which acts like a piston, creating waves through the fluid of the inner ear. The most significant increase in force comes from a system of hydraulic amplification. The face of the stapes has a surface area of 3.2 square millimeters, while the eardrum has a surface of 55 square millimeters. Using this, along with a leverage through the malleus and incus, the final pressure is 22 times greater than when the sound first arrived. Now, we arrived at the most complicated part of the hearing, the cochlea. In reality, it is coiled up, but it is easy to understand straightened out. The stapes is causing pressure waves to travel through this structure. Along the inside wall is about 20 to 30,000 reed-like fibers. As the waves move along, it encounters fibers with the correct resonant frequency and energy is released. These fibers are not actually what give the signal to us that we heard something. There is a special structure containing hair cells next to these fibers. When the fibers resonate, they cause the hair cells to move, which then sends an electrical impulse to the cochlear nerve and on to the brain. Certain pitches of sound will resonate in specific locations, and louder sounds will cause more hair cells to move. Our brain interprets all this raw data, making it possible to enjoy a beautiful song or a conversation with a loved one. Just to think that all this is happening in your head right now at full speed. And not just one, but two of these sophisticated instruments are helping you to have the amazing sense of hearing. This is just one of the many systems found in the human body that go far beyond our humble human understanding.
So we saw here how the sound travels through the cochlea and is converted to electric impulses by the cochlear nerve. So what happens to that cochlear nerve and that impulse after it goes there? It is sent to the brain, and how we process that information can be described by something called the cocktail party effect. So let me just check here real quick. So I'd like you to follow me with your eyes over here. And I'm going to go ahead and hold my hand up here. And I'd like you to put your hand right here and point to my hand. So point right here to my hand. Very nice. Okay, good. Excellent pointing skills, people. Very good. Wow, talented group. Okay, so what I want you to imagine now. To me, please. My hand. Thank you. All right. What I want you to imagine. Keep your eyes on my hand as well. Eyes are here. Okay. So what I want you to imagine is that you are at a party. Okay, you are talking to someone, maybe a music expert, someone talking to you something about might not be interesting to you. For example, resolving Napoleon 6 chords when writing for 4-bar chorales, and you're trying to understand. You're trying to understand what's going on, and you are really listening hard. But this is new information for your brain, so you're really struggling here. Okay, keep looking at my hand, please. You're really struggling here, all right? And then, across the room, maybe 3 meters away, someone says your name in a conversation. And I want you to imagine trying to concentrate on Napoleon 6 chords while someone's talking about you over going on. You want to know what's going on. Okay, so why does your brain shut that out? Why does your brain shut that out? Thank you very much. You can put your hands down. You guys did a great job. Many of you probably noticed when I changed the slide. Even if you didn't notice, all of you saw it, because here I'm close enough for the light from this slide to bounce off and hit your eye. And the eye processes sound, processes light, much in the same way that our ears process sound. So, the waves of light came, hit your eye. Because they changed, it created a new path in your brain, and your brain decided, okay, let's see, is this something that I'm going to need to work on concentrating on right now? Or do I need to keep looking at this weirdo's hand? Because I asked you to, and because you're nice, you were looking at my hand. Even though you saw this, your brain said, okay, let's still focus on what we need to focus on now. We don't need to worry about this, okay? So that's called the cocktail party effect. Magicians use this effect to their advantage, don't they? Because they can do something right in front of your very eyes, where they fool your eyes into focusing on the wrong thing until the reveal. Right? You've all seen that. Now, to demonstrate that there are lots of things that our brain is processing, I'd like you to listen out to the room. See if you can count how many sounds you have not been listening to that are going on right now. What are some things that you heard that you were not listening to before? Let's guess them. The aircon. The aircon. What are some others? What's that? The swinging of the doors. You hear the hinges of the doors. Maybe feet shuffling. Maybe a voice behind the door. Yes, what else? People walking around. These are all things that we are hearing. We might not notice it, but we are all hearing that. As you saw, all of the sound that is happening in this room is being received by our ear, is being sent to our brain, and is being processed on whether or not we've heard that sound before, on whether or not it's important, and then is being thrown in the trash or put in the subconscious. But unless it's important or scary or funny, we're probably not going to notice it. So, before I talk more about the cocktail effect, let's talk about the cockatiel party effect. The cockatiel party effect has less to do with how our brain processes incoming sounds and decides whether they're important or not. The cockatiel party effect has more to do with Snowball, the cockatiel, and his great sense of music. Oh, Snowball. You have such great moves, but you're going to need to work on that vocal technique a little bit. A little screechy. So, what Snowball is doing is Snowball is being able to synchronize with the beat. So, some scientists saw this video when it came out around 2008, and they said, whoa, hang on, this might give us some insight into how humans can synchronize with the beat. How is it that Snowball is able to do this? So they did some tests with Snowball. And what they found is that Snowball can synchronize really well to around 100 beats per minute, which is about the same speed of that song. So about 100 beats a minute. If the song was faster, or if the song was slower, Snowball couldn't do it. He might dance around a little bit to it, then he'd just lose interest. That's not my jam. So, Snowball's musical rhythmic intelligence is there. You can see it. He has rhythm, and he can tap into that rhythm to a varying degree. As humans, we have a much higher level of musical rhythmical intelligence. And let's just do another quick demonstration rate. Before I do that, there's one more thing. So, as an aside, 100 beats per minute is how fast you should give compressions when administering CPR in an emergency. So, because we have great musical rhythmical intelligence, my CPR teacher, one of my CPR teachers, taught me that you can tap into that intelligence to help you save a life by remembering a certain song. Because when we remember a song, even if you haven't heard it recently, you know how fast it goes and how high and low it is. So the song that he taught me was, staying alive, good for saving a life. If you're a little bit morbid, you might use Queen's Another One Bites the Dust. Another one bites the dust. Maybe not. So Snowball would be great at administering compressions if he had, big arms and a lot of weight to a human who needed CPR. Snowball isn't so great with his rhythmical intelligence, but we have great musical rhythmic intelligence. So let's do another experiment here. I already showed you how you can access your pitch memory. I'd like you to, I'm going to go ahead and clap a beat. And as soon as you know how fast or how slow I'm going, I would like you to clap with me, please. Now watch, I'm going to change the tempo. I'm going to change the speed. Great, stop. I'm going to change it again. Be ready. Very nice, very nice. Congratulations, you're all smarter than a cockatiel. We have an amazing ability to tap into our musical rhythmical intelligence. It's all there. So let's get back to the cocktail party effect. How does your brain decide when an incoming electrical neurological event is important? It's based on your experience. As I said, all of you have already learned that song at some point in your life, even if you've never taken a music class. I want you to think about your name. How many times have you heard your name today? This month? This year? How many times have you heard your name in your entire life? If sound traveling through the air hits your ear, is converted to electrical impulses in your brain, those paths that those impulses take will be similar for similar sounds. So if you've heard your name, what your name is doing is carving a path on a superhighway in your brain. So substitute teachers know this because they hate it when there's that kid in the back who won't talk or is talking and they're not supposed to. And they want that ability to just say, hey, kid, but they use the kid's name, right? And they know that as soon as they use the kid's name, because it has been said so many times before, it's going to go down that superhighway and the kid is going to go from his conversation with his friends. Now, it can also work against you, teachers, and you know this as well. Because if I'm sitting over here and I'm saying, Jim, 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 and then Jim pays attention to me, if I don't give Jim something meaningful for him right away, as soon as I have his attention, if I don't keep his attention, he'll go right back to it. Now, what happens next time I say Jim? He has associated my voice saying his name with something that's not important. We start learning these sounds immediately. So they did a study, some scientists did a study in which babies were played 2 different theme songs from a TV show. One of the theme songs was a random TV show. Another theme song was the theme song from their mother's favorite TV show while she was pregnant. And what they found was heightened brain activity in this infant who had never heard that song outside of the womb, excuse me, or outside the room, for that matter, as opposed to the song that was a random TV show that was still popular, but not their mom's favorite. Also, I have a friend who, when they found out they were pregnant, he read to his wife's belly every night when they found out. And he would read several books, but he'd always use the same voice. And now his daughter is just under 3 years old. And like every 3-year-old, she has emotional moments where she, can't express what she's feeling, and she's just feeling, oh, my goodness, maybe we all have those moments too, don't we? But here's what's cool about how the dad set up her neurological pathways to begin with, when she was warm and comfortable in the womb and feeling loved, is that now he can read to her in his voice, and immediately she can calm down and completely move on from whatever terrible thing is going on in her mind. I think that's really magical. So how can we use music to take advantage of these deeply ingrained neural pathways to teach our students better? The Western music system, which is most widely listened to in the world, has 12 basic tones. So only 12 neural pathways that are addressed, and then they repeat on the octave, but they're the same neural pathway. They go down a very similar path. Of these 12 tones, in most songs that we hear, 8 of those tones are most widely used in what's called scale. Of those 8, some of those sound better than others, and we've decided, as a culture, as a species, that 5 is sort of the magic number, which happens to be the song that we sang earlier. Okay, so that song, 5 notes, is the most used. So I want you to think about the ABCs right now, the letters of the alphabet in English. What letter comes 2 letters before the letter K? Two letters before the letter K. Okay, how many used the tool of musical memory to access that letter? Okay, maybe some of you. I'm sure some of you were thinking in your head, there's K. Okay, I. Excellent. So why is that such a powerful song? Why are these 5 notes so powerful? Because those roads, those neurological paths are so deeply cut, because we hear it so often, because we hear it everywhere. We've heard it since we were young. Maybe your parents sang these songs when you were little. Maybe you were lucky enough for that. Music cuts deep. So, what now? Some of you already have some ideas on how you can bring music into your classroom in a meaningful way and enhance your curriculum. But I know that there might be some of you who are still wondering, okay, so music is great, yeah, how do I actually bring it into my classroom? I need some concrete examples. One of the most famous, I think the first step to bringing music into your classroom, if you're not used to it, is stop saying, I'm not musical. Stop saying it. Howard Gardner would shake his head and wag his finger at you in shame. Why? Because multiple intelligences are diverse and unique, just like your students. We all have access to musical rhythmical intelligence, to varying degrees. Now, the problem with our society is that we have been taught that only Bobby McFerrin or Katy Perry are the people who can sing. And if you can't sing at that level, then you should not sing. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. You are losing out on an important human experience of singing. So that's the first step, is leaving that idea of not being musical at the door. You have all showed me, all of us, that you have musical rhythmical intelligence when you were singing that song, when you were clapping and matching the beats. So don't shortchange your students. Don't underestimate yourself. Don't underestimate your students. One of the most famous examples of bringing music into the classroom is Schoolhouse Rock.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Hooking up words and phrases and clauses.
Conjunction, junction, how's that function?
I got 3 favorite cars that get most of my job done.
Conjunction, junction, what's their function?
I got and, but, and, or. They'll get you pretty far. And, that's an additive, like this and that. But, that's sort of the opposite. Not this, but that. And then there's or, O-R. When you have a choice like this or that. And, but, and, or get you pretty far.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
Hooking up 2 boxcars and making them.
I'm going to show you now how teachers at my school, Qatar Academy Al-Waqra, are using music in their general education classroom to engage their students and make memorizing the material easier for them.
These things called jazz chants from Carolyn Graham, and I think that they're specifically made for ESL students. And when I was teaching elementary school in Texas years ago, and also when I taught college in Japan, we used them. And one that I remember specifically was called "Hi, how's it going?" And it goes, "Hi, how's it going? Great, how about you? Hi, how's it going? Okay, how about you? Hi, how's it going? Fine, how about you? Hi, how's it going? Hi, how's it going?" And it's just rhythmic, getting the kids to sort of speak in a pattern so that they're learning the phrasing properly of greeting someone and the different responses that you can have back to a responsive "how's it going?"
I think I've always used music in the classroom because it's something that children generally find to be fun and exciting, especially young children. They're always fascinated with different kinds of instruments, and it's a good way, particularly in my experience with kids who are learning English as a second language, it's a great way to get them to enjoy the language and actually speak the words and practice without them really realizing that they're learning anything. And as well, the bottom line, it's fun. Kids love it. They enjoy themselves when they're in the classroom. They look forward to doing it. And yeah, it's just something that I've always used.
Something else that I used to do with my 5th graders in Texas was for spelling. Each week they would get some spelling words, and I would divide the kids into 4 groups, and they would take a number of spelling words. I can't remember now how many. And they would make little chants. I would record them on my tape recorder and play it to the kids every day. A-B-O-U-T, about. So these are ones that I remember. What was really funny is when I would see them writing or typing on the computer, I could see their mouths moving and repeating the pattern back, the rhythm that would help them remember how to spell their spelling words. They loved making up the patterns and making up different rhythms to go with their spelling words, and it really did help them. So I think the payoff was, first, they liked doing it just because it was sort of fun and different and new. They also liked recording. They liked listening to themselves back. And after a while, I think it was not only just the fun, but they became engaged because it was fun and it helped them. So the two things together had me sold, and it had the kids sold as well.
I want to talk about quickly something that Yolanda brought up. She was watching her students, who she had taught these chants to, that they had created themselves, and she was watching them writing. She was watching them tap into that memory using their kinesthetic learning, because they learned it kinesthetically. They didn't have to say it verbally. They're kinesthetically moving their mouth. And the reason I want to bring this up is because I mentioned the several areas of your brain that are accessible to everyone. And I mentioned how all of us have access to these different parts of the brain to varying degrees. Some of us are more able to make their way through a maze. Some people are more able to learn a new language when immersed in a culture. Some people are more able to quickly synchronize to a beat after listening just to a few seconds of a song. And what Yolanda was talking about there was a student using their whole brain to learn a concept. And music is one of the only activities that uses all portions of the brain in order to make it. So they use those cascades, and they use those fMRI machines to watch music, people who are creating music, who are playing a musical instrument, or singing. And all of the portions that you saw on that slide were lit up. Their brain was just teeming with oxygen use and getting blood to those different parts of the brain. And so, because they're using all of those neurological pathways, they're diversifying the use of their brain. It makes them stronger in all of the different areas. This is one of my favorite teachers.
I'm a physicist, lyricist, spitting this ridiculousness, so witness the ignorance I dismiss. Perfect. Newton's laws of motion is the topic of the course, because things in motion stay in motion unless they hit an unbalanced force. Well, next up's the second law of situation and summation. Force equals mass times acceleration. That's the second law Newton foresaw, so if you want more, then the third law is in store. My name is Christopher Emden. I'm a science educator. You know, we spit bars, we spit lyrics, but we also drop science and drop science facts, and then bring that to young people. You know, if somebody were to take hip-hop away from me tomorrow, I couldn't breathe. Hip-hop is everything, man. I mean, hip-hop is pedagogy in motion. You go to any rap concert, you know, the way the person who's on that stage has a command over that audience is almost the exact same way that you want a teacher to be able to sort of hold the students in their hand and make them learn. The call and response, the frenetic energy that builds up to this crescendo, you know, the aha moments. All those things are what you want to see happening in the classroom. So hip-hop gives us the perfect pedagogical model. Youth are always in search of something to sort of strike them in a way that makes them see that there are new possibilities for life. You know, I work with kids who are from very, very low socioeconomic status, high incarceration rate communities, and so they're just looking for an outlet. And they're looking for something to dream about, something to look forward to. So if a teacher can show that the content that they're teaching is a path towards a different possibility for their future, they tune right in.
When Chris comes into the class, it's a whole different atmosphere.
He changes things around. He makes everything fun. He brightens up your day.
I gotta keep going.
Essentially what we're doing is we're teaching kids to be able to remember what they learned. They're putting it on paper to rhyme. They're trying to make connections where connections didn't exist before. They're developing a curiosity for the subject matter, and then they're learning that the only assessment for knowledge is not just some stupid test. We have to write everything down, but you have to go out there and present the information. Just like scientists go out today and present their information to their colleagues and peers when they're at conferences.
This is a process called asexual reproduction. It's a part of something called regeneration.
Exactly what you just said. Write that down.
What did I say?
You know, I was in that classroom with a kid that I saw last week. and it was like, what are you gonna do with the science raps? I don't know, it's gonna be awful. And he gets up there and the rhyme is perfect.
The thing about water is that it changes like a person, from the color to the taste, but the water's never perfect. Seeping through the layers like you're moving through a crowded train. Hard to find the purity of water in the acid rain.
Teaching essentially is about, meeting the person who you want to share information with on their own cultural turf. Where is that they're embedded? What are the examples that mean something to them? And the educator has to be able to enter the learner's mind and be aware of how they view the world. This approach to teaching and learning for young people who are already immersed in hip hop, it opens up a whole new world and universe to them.
The brain cohabitates with the mind to perform perceptions of its own kind.
So listen, we gotta transform, making different landforms. How does the landform, get it?
That's dope. Props. Teaching and learning is so beautiful, man. Like, it really is a dance. It's really understanding your partner in that process so that at the end, the thing that you create is beautiful and magical.
Yeah, holla at me. Y'all definitely want to go to Colombia one day. I'm there. Whenever y'all ready, I'm there. All right, peace, y'all.
Put your eye on peace.
Give me a lift.
Take care.
So the job description of that is written on Dr. Emden's contract probably says science teacher. But is Dr. Emden also a music teacher? Is Dr. Emden also a philosophy teacher? Is Dr. Emden also a technology teacher? He is a wonderful example of teaching to all of the multiple intelligences, incorporating music into his classroom in order for his students, as you saw, to engage in a more meaningful way. So I had planned a small group activity for us to practice incorporating music into the general education classroom. But I'll just give you an overview instead of us actually doing it. So first of all, you start with small groups of 4 to 6 people. We don't need to do this now, but I was going to demonstrate to you how we could write a rap or a rhyme to help memorize the 6 countries that make up the Global Cooperation Council. I want you to think right now, can you If you were to bring this into your classroom, there are a couple tips that I would like to bring up. First of all, keep it simple. If your subject matter is longer than 2 minutes, if it's going to take longer than 2 minutes for you to write and perform that rap, it's going to be too long. That's too much information. Focus on what you want them to learn and what you want them to memorize. In this assignment, it would be listing the 6 nations of the GCC so that we can build on that information later. We don't need to teach concepts quite yet. We don't need to teach when it was founded, its history, its purpose, its future, where it is today. Focus on the objective. Encourage students and show students how to properly engage in the ideas of their peers. No duck hunting means if someone has an idea, take a moment and just process that idea. But keep yourself from saying, later, that idea is terrible, no! Okay? Let the idea sort of surface, run with it for a little bit. If you find something better, go ahead, cool, go with that better idea. But don't shoot it down right away because you need to keep those juices flowing in their imagination. Finally, have fun! Maybe you wouldn't create the entire rap in the allotted time. Maybe you couldn't finish it all. Maybe you couldn't finish it. But do you think your kids are going to learn something more about those 6 nations in that time in which they're engaged with each other and they are making music, listening to a rhythmic beat, and trying to figure out words that rhyme with each other? Yeah, definitely. So, you see that only half is taken up here. These are the required words of their rhyme. When they write a rhyme together, they must include these words. I would give them 4 minutes to work together, write down as many ideas as they can. Good ideas and bad ideas. After the 4 minutes, I would give them a little bit more help. Notice I haven't shown you how fast or how slow. I want the rhymes to be, because I only want them to focus on the words first. I might show them the rap or the beat that they're going to be using next. Okay. Then I might give them some keywords that we're going to be addressing in a later lesson if they want to preemptively incorporate those, if it's going to maybe help them make some better rhymes that have to do with GCC. Remember, we're keeping it simple first. Keep it simple first. I use Google Documents when we're doing collaborative projects like this. Once all groups have their ideas, if they have their own devices, they can already be putting them on the Google Documents. And then when we get together, I would put it up on the big screen and we could edit it together. Afterwards, I can show you what that looks like in the document that I prepared for today. Now, just in case, I did come up with my own rap, and I'll show you today. Let's sing. Just feel the beat a little bit. Well, hello, my name is Michael Latorre. I'm gonna tell you about the countries of the GCC. Bahrain, Oman, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. Is that the end? Oh wait! United Arab Emirates is the last you see. And those are the countries of the GCC. Allah. Thank you. So, what are you going to take with this? How can you integrate music into instruction to boost student learning, engagement, and retention? I'd like you to take literally 30 seconds, ask your neighbor, then I have one more slide. Go, right now. Okay, can I hear two ideas that you guys have? Can I hear two ideas maybe? If you have more, that's great, but I want to hear two today. So what are two ideas that you have for incorporating music into your classroom? What are you going to do?
Okay, I'll start.
Yeah, Ted.
Okay, so the biggest problem I have is getting kids to put their name in their class and their date on every paper I give them. So it's like this. Name, class, date, put it at the top, name, class, date. So for about a month, I would start it. Now I say to the kids, what do you need to do? Tell me the three things, and they say us. So that's just a
excellent example. And totally, yeah, give a round of applause. Thank you, Ted. Great example. And that is something that totally translates to any class in which you need to write the name, class, date on paper. And that's really what's expected of you when you're submitting papers, is to let the people that you're submitting it to, who you are, when you're submitting it. Okay? So that's excellent information. And I'm sure that Debbie sees the same thing that Yolanda saw as well, where she hands out a paper, and immediately I'm sure students will.
They do, little heads go.
Okay, one more. I said two, let's get one more. Yeah.
I teach infants.
Yeah.
And for washing hands procedure, the first thing we do is we say, wet your hands, soak your hands, rub your hands together. And so they know the order that you first put your hands in, soak your hands, and then rub your hands.
Absolutely. So yes, round of applause. That's perfect. I love that example. That's a great song, by the way. So what you're doing is you are allowing those students to access those neural pathways that they are experiencing quite a bit and they have a good experience with. And you are using those neural pathways that already exist in that music. And both of you use the same song. So, it's obvious that this is a children's song that's really deeply ingrained in their neural pathways already. You're taking advantage of that to teach them procedure. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Excellent tool for teaching procedure. So you remember the order that things go. We all have access to musical intelligence. We are all musical beings. So my challenge for you Oh, and by the way, this slideshow and the videos that you saw here are available on my website. There's a link on the last slide where you can either use your QR scanner or you can just check out my website. There's a link on there as well. Follow me on Twitter, check me out, and email me with any questions or ideas that you have. I'm a great hallway robber. I love to listen to your ideas in the hallway and then take them into my classroom and use them there. So if you have great ideas, I want to hear them. So please do email me and tell me what you're doing in the classroom to bring music. If you're not bringing music into the classroom, if you are not allowing your students to grow as individuals into their full potential and to your full potential, then my action challenge for you and for me is to find something in the next month. Because if you wait longer than that, the kids start getting crazy, and so do you. So in the next month, try to incorporate one lesson into your curriculum that involves music in some way so that the students can experience using their whole brain in your lesson. Thank you very much. You guys are great.